Todo va a depender de vosotros. ¿Extranjero por ser de otra nacionalidad? Vale. ¿Extranjero porque eres ajeno a esto? Espero que no. Todo depende de vosotros. Espero que no.
All right, Connor, we're gonna start now. Okay, to you. Okay. I chose to study abroad so I could become fluent in the language, and also I wanted to immerse myself in the culture.
I want to understand the language and be able to communicate with others in Spanish.
So I want to improve my Spanish to be fluent.
Ever since high school, I saw people coming from out of country to come to the US, and I thought it took a lot of courage, and I really admired them for trying to learn another language, and I've always wanted to.
I really wanted to come here so I could become as fluent as possible, because it just gives you a different perspective of looking at the world, because each language is a point of view of how to see the world, and in order to speak it, you kind of have to adopt that point of view.
Si alguna vez he tenido la posibilidad de pasar a ser profesora de lengua y literatura para españoles, dejé pasar la oportunidad, yo creo que intencionadamente. ¿Por qué? Pues porque el extranjero motiva. El extranjero necesita lo que se le enseña. El español no. Todos saben hablar y todos saben leer y todos saben, pero luego no quieren aprender más, ¿vale? Y no se dan cuenta de que eso también es necesario, que la lengua es necesaria absolutamente para todo, para poder tener un conocimiento más profundo de todo lo demás que sea que estudies.
I feel like I've been able to apply what I've learned outside of the classroom more now that we've had school. Or like I was here for a week without school, like before school started, and it was good, and then I got to practice like going out and about and like talking to people here and there, like at a restaurant or at a store, but now I'm able to learn more and then apply it right away. I want to continue to try to increase like the amount that I talk in Spanish every day, because that's what I'm here for. I want to learn more. I use Spanglish a lot.
I can't elaborate on my thoughts very much. I can give like the gist of what I want to say, but I can't really have a very meaningful conversation.
I have not been speaking as much Spanish as I would like while I'm here. I speak mostly English. It's so hard for me to speak Spanish to other people, and I'm self-conscious about it, and so that perfectionist tendency in me doesn't want to speak unless it's perfect.
What tends to happen is that you learn something in class, but if you're not 100% confident using it in speech, then you just go around it.
We know the language. We could be speaking Spanish and responding in Spanish. I don't know. It's weird. It's just like I don't actively think about like speaking English. It's just a reflex.
Me and my roommate have been teaching English to these little girls. The family is a Spanish family, and the girls are about 8, 4, and 2. And the mom has been really nice and has offered for me and my roommate to come over to their house early, and we have a little conversation with her just so we can have the practice of speaking Spanish.
I tutor English, and right now it's just with one girl, and so 2 times a week her dad picks me up. Every time I'm in the car, I speak in Spanish with him because he doesn't speak any English. It's interesting and I enjoy it because it's different. It's a different experience, and I think that definitely helps develop us more, being able to like use it outside of the classroom in different scenarios.
I think fluency is a very thin line, because when do you know when you're fluent? Like whenever you can communicate with people.
I'm more confident in like saying things, like asking my roommates about things, because at the beginning I was just kind of like stayed in my room and like hoped they didn't talk to me because I wouldn't know what they were saying.
I can passively listen in Spanish, whereas before I would have to actively listen. I would have to think about what they're saying. I can just sit there and hear it and understand it.
Somebody will speak to me in English and I'll just speak back to them in Spanish and they'll speak back to me in English, and like I don't even think about the fact that it's two different languages because it's just communication, and like we both understand what the other person's saying, and I'm just in that Spanish mode and it just keeps coming out, and I really don't even think about it until afterwards, and then I'm like, well, yeah, I was speaking Spanish and they were speaking English the whole time.
We're kind of like in the middle realm between English and Spanish, and our brains are just kind of jumbled up into everything as we're becoming more bilingual.
I've noticed that my English is getting a little bit worse. I don't know how to explain why it's getting worse, honestly, because I talk to people that speak English every day, and honestly that's mainly what I use.
I wanted to say like moon, but then I like said loon because I was like thinking Luna in my head as like an automatic translation.
Like, you know when like you're searching for words and then you're just like and then you just say the word, the first word that comes to your mind, even though if it's not like the right one. That would happen to me, but like instead of just sorting through English words, even though I'm speaking in English, it'll also sort through some Spanish words, and sometimes a Spanish word will want to come out.
And then there's also some words that I want to be able to say, or something, if I want to express something in English, and I can't think of a good way to do it without using Spanish.
I've tried to adopt some like Spanish linguistic patterns, but in the States I don't use Zafeo, like where you put the C's and the Z's with a F sound instead of a S sound. So like I've been trying to do that because it's very Spain.
I have used the vosotros more because our professors use it, and I feel like I'm catching on to it.
So I haven't really adopted anything while I'm in Spain except for things that I've adopted unconsciously just through the natural language learning process. Like I haven't really like made a decision consciously about that. It's just kind of like whatever comes out.
I'm pretty good at like using the like Spanish vocab, like, but as for like the like Latin American pronunciation, I definitely don't get like attacked by the professors like some of the other students.
Here in Spain, with my Latin American Spanish, with my teachers mostly, they get mad at me.
The teachers are very understanding here when we use the Latin American Spanish, and it to some extent, like they know that that's where we come from, but at the same time they're like, no, we don't use that here.
For like 2 years of high school, my Spanish teacher had studied in Spain, but she didn't really use vosotros because she was like, we're not gonna need that.
Growing up and learning Spanish with teachers who are like, yeah, you won't need this, they only use it in Spain, and then going to Spain and being like, well, I'm in Spain now, so you told me I didn't need to learn this, but now I'm here, and so like, what do I do?
Because a lot of us are from the US and they make errors and the teachers tell them, oh, that's Latin American Spanish, and then they'll correct it.
My Spanish roommate, whenever I was talking about like how we could drive to Colorado, I said manejamos instead of conducimos, she like was like, no, we don't say that here.
They tell me that words aren't what I think they are, and then I feel like I've learned them in class, and then I'm confused, and I wonder if I learned that word and it's Latin American, or if it's even a word at all.
I think they just are like, no, that's wrong, because like that's not what they were taught to say.
They kind of attack Latin American Spanish because they're like so proud of Castellano, like Spanish, because like it's their language, like we're in that, like the country that originated that language.
I really feel like they're very like true to their Spanish and their form of speaking, and they don't really want to use any like other even dialects or like languages.
They do that because we're in Spain and they want to teach us Spanish while we're here, and we would hear a lot of those things around here, and I feel like in the moment it's more useful than Latin American Spanish.
Somos una máquina, somos como un ordenador o como un teléfono de hoy en día, ¿vale? Una maquinita me va a funcionar con un chip, o un teléfono me va a funcionar en un número, el mismo terminal, con un chip o con otro. O si le meto un chip va a tener más capacidad que otro. Si yo no cambio mi chip aquí dentro, no voy a poder ser española. Si yo sigo pensando y actuando, trabajando como trabaja mi máquina y soy de Estados Unidos, pues perdón, ¿has venido solo para aprender el indicativo y el subjuntivo en una clase o has venido también para poder ahí fuera practicar y actuar, sobre todo actuar, y no solo actuar, primero entender lo diferentes que somos ahí fuera y después, si yo quiero ser lo más española posible, tendré que actuar como ellos. Seguro que he dejado un poquito de mi otro chip de Estados Unidos y seguro que sé que estoy actuando, que no me estoy comportando como a mí me han educado. O sea, no es a mí, es a ti. Estás actuando de una manera que a ti te dijeron que no se puede no decir por favor, que no se puede no decir gracias, que no se puede no sonreír, y yo te estoy enseñando a cuidado con la sonrisa. Demasiado gracias es que me cansa. No solo a mí, es que nos cansa a todos. Por favor, ¿por qué? Si es mi trabajo. Lo siento, pero ¿por qué lo sientes? Lo que os digo siempre, ¿pero tengo sangre? ¿Por qué me pides perdón? ¿Vale? No me has hecho daño, no me siento ofendida. Ese es el chip. Tengo que ser consciente de que allí donde esté, tengo que cambiar.
I bought too much at the grocery store because I'm used to shopping in the US, and in the US we grab whatever we can because we're not going to be going to the store very often. But here, there are so many stores, you just buy a little at a time. But I didn't think about that until I got to the checkout. So I had to carry like a 2-liter bottle of water, milk, etc., frozen cauliflower, and it was very heavy, and I had to carry it a long way.
Spaniards have a little bit of a different culture when it comes to courtesy and everything. Our teachers usually get mad at us when we say thank you too much or I'm sorry too much, because they're like, what are you sorry for? What are you thankful for? Like, I just handed you a piece of paper. Why are you saying thank you for homework? Like, that's weird.
When you're walking down the street, they'll just like stare and like lock eyes with you, which is kind of unsettling. I guess in the US we're mostly like, oh, like we'll just like nod or like smile, then like you look away.
When you're like walking by people in the street, Spanish people don't really like smile at you if they make awkward eye contact. They just kind of like stare at you and they don't really smile. And in the US we kind of like smile awkwardly, like.
They don't just look, they like stare and they follow you like as you walk by.
A lot of the Spanish kids, pretty much every Spanish kid, goes out and goes to bars until like 7 a.m., 5 a.m., 7 a.m. And I can't do that. I want to go to bed at like 12 or 1.
Most of the culture things that were odd to me at the beginning, like the heavy smoking, walking everywhere, the siesta time where like everything's closed, like all of that stuff, it doesn't bother me as much now, and I'm used to it and I can expect it and I know how to work around it. And so it's gotten a lot easier living here.
For a lot of things, I feel like I've adjusted to the Spanish culture in the sense that like I wouldn't stand out, but I do still feel like when I'm around people, like older people, the more traditional Spanish people, they can still tell that I'm foreign, like the way I look and doing workouts in the park, things like that, things that I like to do that are like instilled in me from my lifestyle in America that I still do here.
In Paris was the first time that I felt like really foreign compared to like Spain. Because like in Spain, like I know the language, I'm learning the language. Whereas when we went to Paris, even though it's like a fellow Romance language, it was just a completely different world too. On top of that, like I had already like started to assimilate to like Spanish culture. Just to be surrounded by that was just, it made me feel more foreign than I do when I'm in Spain.
I don't want people to think of me as like a stupid American that doesn't respect their culture and doesn't even try to learn anything about the culture.
When we went to Paris, I felt guilty that I did not speak French and that I was in their country. Like I tried to learn like a couple phrases to use, but I just felt bad. Like, cause being in León, like you see how the people are really, like they're not gonna speak English to you because they don't know it and they don't wanna know it. And you have to like speak Spanish and you have to be part of their culture and it's like their thing. And I didn't want to like interrupt their culture. I didn't want to like ruin it by speaking English. It's otherwise like you feel like you're saying, well, my language is better than yours and you should be able to speak my language to talk to me, but I'm not taking the time to learn your language.
Because there were, of course, like a lot of people speaking French and people that didn't know English as well as you would think. And so it was harder to communicate. And I think that language is really essential for feeling like you're a part of it.
Foreign would be not something that doesn't necessarily fit in, but more something that's like just a little out of place.
There have been moments when I'm in Spain or some other country where I feel like I'm the foreigner. Like I know I'm the foreigner, but I feel like I'm the foreigner. Well, it mostly happens when we're doing exercise in the park, and that's not normal. So people will always gather around us and watch us.
My grandparents came and visited in León. When we were eating lunch together, they were being very polite to the waiter because in the United States, that's what you do. But in Spain, they think of it as like, no, this is my job. I have to do this, so why are you thanking me for doing my job? The people at the restaurant kind of got mad at them, or they thought that they were mad at them because they were being so nice. So my grandparents were like, what's going on? And I was like, I think that they think you're mad at them. And I kind of had to be the mediator between all of that. It was stressful.
It was awesome having my family here. My boyfriend visited first and then my aunt came after. So it was really cool to be able to have them here and share part of the experience just because it's so important to me in my life, and like they got to be a part of it now.
I do miss my family, I miss my friends. The week before I realized that I had strong bonds with my classmates, it was a hard week for me because I was homesick. I didn't have like really close friends to talk to all the time.
Over time, the relationships with our friends here definitely has changed a lot. And it's funny because you don't really think about it when you're like in the moment, but just like the other day I was talking about like Riaño, and like it was like we had so much fun, but like we really didn't know each other that well yet. Like it was one of the first trips we took like right at the beginning. Compared to now, like I feel like we're just all so much more comfortable with each other, and we are honestly like a family.
As time has gone on here, I've communicated with my friends and family a little bit less. I think it was because at the beginning I didn't really have any firm connections here, and so I wanted to still contact with the people that were in my life back at home. But then now as I've made connections here, I've kind of been talking to them more.
I feel like I'm making like closer friendships, and I need closer friendships because I can't just, be acquaintances. With my roommate Madeline, I feel pretty close to her, but I was feeling kind of lonely because Madeline got a boyfriend, and okay.
I don't have a boyfriend.
Okay.
Then there's Connor, who I have been spending a lot of time with because we are in class together and we go on trips together and everything. At the beginning, it made us get really close really quickly because we also realized we had similar personalities. And then we started dating.
Got a date on Friday. That's pretty neat.
Now we're boyfriend and girlfriend.
Well, that girl I went on a date with, she's my girlfriend now.
So I would definitely say that relationship has changed.
So yeah, that was a good thing to know that I could talk to my classmates, and I can talk to Madeline too when she's not busy.
But since I've been traveling with like Mary Beth and Connor and people that I'm getting really close to, like experiencing that with people that you're really good friends with changes the situation. It's more about like what you're doing with the people in a new city rather than what the city can offer you.
And like me with Madeline, since we're dating, like we were definitely like the closest with each other. But then we have Mary Beth, our third wheel, who we both love. Like Brianna, I live with Brianna, and like she was friends with Mary Beth and Hannah.
But if we were at the same university, I feel like everybody would already have their group of friends, and I would probably stay with my group of friends, and they would probably stay with theirs. Yeah, I'd seen you, but like I didn't really know anything about you. I just remember like seeing you.
I didn't even know you existed.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm kind of short, so you probably overlooked me, but
We all went through the process together, especially like this group of Americans that we've become really close friends with because we have a very similar background, and then coming to this experience, it's going to be very different. This has been a very emotional week, thinking about the fact like I'm excited and I'm happy to spend like all these like last moments together, but at the same time I'm gonna cry. And I'm sad because it's like these people I've grown so close with, like I'm not gonna see.
we won't see each other as much whenever we get back to the US, and it'll be really different. I think that these relationships are special because it's like a big step for all of us.
I mean, part of me's ready to leave, obviously. Being away from these people that I've gotten so close with, that'll be harder.
It was so bittersweet coming here, having to leave my family and my friends and my culture and everything that I know behind for 6 months. Like, that's so bitter, but it was so sweet because I get to experience something as cool as living in Spain for 6 months. But leaving here, it's so bittersweet because of the same reasons. Like, it's so bitter having to leave the people and the places and the memories that we've made here, but being able to go back home, and that's sweet, and it's bitter. It's just so bittersweet. It's sad. It's really sad.
Definitely flew by. If you're thinking of studying abroad and you think that like 6 months is a long time, it might seem like that before you go, but then once you're in it and living it, it flies by.
Do you feel like you'll be a different person when you go back there than you were when you left?
Of course, yeah. That was kind of my goal.
I feel mostly like the same. I don't know, it's hard to describe. I feel like I've changed in little ways, but for the most part, I'm still the same.
And I just feel like I'm more confident in a lot of things now, a little more sure of myself, and a little more independent.
I definitely feel like I'm more at home now than I was at the beginning, because everything was still like really, really new, like pretty much everything I did. And now I kind of have down more like routines and like the places that I go that are like my favorites and the little things that I do.
You're home, you know the good things about it, you know the bad things about it. You don't just see what's good, or you don't just see what is bad. And since we've been here long enough to not only see just the good or not just the bad of it, it really has felt like a home.
I think like definitely we will keep in touch. Social media helps a lot with that, because you don't need to necessarily like text each other every day to stay in touch, but like just like staying up to date on each other's lives and like big events that are happening and things like that. And then once in a while, if we can get together, like I'm sure it'll just kind of like we'll pick up where we left off.
So we've decided to have a reunion in St. Louis.
Me, Mary Beth, Connor, Hannah, and Madeline.
It was weird getting the whole group back together. It was fun. And I was like, wow, we're in like a different place. And then we're like riding in like cars together. It's like, I've never done this before.
Since we've gotten to St. Louis, honestly, I felt like everything was really normal. Like I almost feel like we're in Spain again.
It's interesting because we were so close there and we were all doing the same thing, but now we kind of all have our own separate lives. So figuring out how they work together and kind of being in our own spaces when we do things. Even just being in the United States, like being together is different than it was being there.
Madeline, dating her long distance has been tough compared to like seeing each other every day for 6 months in Spain. We've done a really good job making it work.
When like you come back from studying abroad and you talk to your friends and family about like what you did and all this stuff, they're like, okay, yeah, shut up about it already. They're like, I don't want to hear it. Like, you've talked about it all the time. But it's like with us, since we like both know like what it meant to the other person, me and Connor, we know like the other person like understands where we're coming from.
Being away from home at first was difficult, mostly just because of family and friends, like being away from them. That was the hardest part. I missed my nephew a lot. He is 1 year and 3 months. Like I missed half of his life when I was gone. So I was afraid he wasn't gonna like remember me or know who I was. The first time he saw me, he just had a big smile on his face.
And for my friends, like whenever I came back, it was a little different because like it felt weird that I could hang out with them again. Like I've been in Spain and there's a lot of things that I've done that they don't know about, but then there's also a lot of things that they've done that I don't know about.
My friend group, we have different like jokes, like just ongoing jokes or like phrases or like things that we'll do, and so there have been some since I've been back that I've had to like adopt late.
So my boyfriend's dad wants to learn Spanish, and sometimes he'll ask me about words. He was asking me like what potato was in Spanish, and I said like patata. And then I sent it and I started thinking, wait a second, is it? And so then I like look it up on the Spanish dictionary, and it was saying that patata was like Spanish. I guess that was like the main moment where I'm like, wow. Like I used to use this word, like I used to use papa, and then I started using like patata.
I feel I slip in some Spain Spanish as well as some American Spanish. Like earlier I used the plural ustedes instead of the vosotros, but like also sometimes I use the vosotros instead of that. So I still think it's a big mix.
I'm definitely more accustomed to Spanish versus Latin American Spanish now. And I like the Spanish ones better. I don't know, that's more of a part of me now, I would say.
Because a lot of the Spanish speakers in my classes, they really emphasize Mexican Spanish. But then it's like, well, I don't really know anything about Mexican Spanish. And so then it's like, but I know a lot about Spanish. And then in those instances, I feel more compelled to be more Spanish. But like when I was in Costa Rica this summer and I was talking to Costa Ricans, I felt more aware of not wanting to speak in Spanish. I didn't want them to not like understand what I was saying or think I was weird in any way.
People wouldn't expect me to speak Spanish because I'm in America, and they'd expect me to speak English. So even if there are Spanish speaking people, I feel like I have to like surprise them, and I can't, like, I get nervous and I can't get over that hump. Where in Spain, everybody expected me to speak Spanish because I kind of have to communicate. So I would just do it there with a little bit more confidence.
It's kind of weird to think that like I would feel a little more foreign speaking Spanish here than I did in Spain.
In my Spanish class, sometimes I still speak in Spanglish because I know everyone understands English, and if I can't think of a word in Spanish, I just say it in English.
While we were there in Spain, I would Spanglish like all the time, switch back and forth, and it just was the way you'd communicate. But now I have to like change gears, change modes, and get into the Spanish mode if I want to talk Spanish.
A lot of homophones, like there and there, or would and would, or like here and here, like that one, I've gotten messed up a lot of times. Like I'm here, H-E-A-R, just because I like spell it out the way it sounds in my head and not realizing like, oh, that's not the right spelling of the word because I relied on that for so long when I was writing in Spain.
When I did get back at first, I felt like I was conscious of the way that I talked in English. I guess maybe because you're always thinking about the way you're pronouncing things in Spanish and making sure you're doing it right. My brain was still doing it when I was speaking English.
I joined Team Global at UCA, which is like a student organization with more international students than US students, and I feel like I can relate more to them because I've actually lived in a place that's not my home.
It's helped me to better understand the stress of being like a foreigner, and like just you don't know everything that they're going through. Like I would say that my experience as a foreigner wasn't, well, it definitely doesn't compare to some people's, like immigrants and everything.
I have a conversation partner now, which is a foreign exchange student that has come to UCA, but I feel like I'm able to understand them better than if I wouldn't have gone to Spain. I understand about making friends, about how hard that could be, like because I asked about if she'd made any friends, any American friends. She said no, like they just seem very closed off, and I kind of felt like that too while I was over there. It's very similar to being able to relate to all the foreigners in Spain. I can relate to them here too now if I have a conversation.
Studying abroad definitely changed my life in a lot of ways that I can't put into words. It's not really totally anything different than it was before. Like your life is still your life, but it's a really big experience that forces you outside of so many comfort zones and forces you to grow so quickly that you can't help but be changed by the experience.
There's so many more experiences that I have now because of it. So many memories, more friends. I want to travel so much more now. There's so much more I want to see.
I feel like I've grown as a person a lot more, just like overall, like maturity wise. Had a glow up because your girlfriend makes you cut your hair and shave your facial hair that looks awful, and I'm sure you see it on the earlier interviews, and it's quite gross. It's improved my Spanish drastically. It's helped me just being more aware of like everything, like culturally, socially, personally.
I feel like it's affected me. I just feel more like culturally like aware of like other cultures.
I feel like the best time whenever I was in Spain was close to the end, but not too close to the end. Like we'd all gone through a lot together before that, and we could, like during the breaks, we'd just go to a cafe and talk, and it was really nice. And the last time we went to a cafe was really sad, and I just knew that I'd miss a lot of things. Like the hardest part was in the middle of my study abroad experience. My grandpa died. It was harder since I was away because it was like there was this big thing happening in my family, like this big change, and I wasn't a part of it. But my friends were really good to me during that part of my life. They all just let me know that they were there for me if I needed anything. It was really tough, but I knew that I still wanted to like have a good time and enjoy my time abroad, and that it was something that I wouldn't be able to experience again. So I was able to get past that and still have a good time, but that was definitely the low.
The worst part of studying abroad was the end of it, where we had to say goodbye to everybody, and like saying goodbye to all of our Spanish people, like all of our professors. I cried like a baby on our like graduation day.
It was hard knowing that even if we go back to León, it'll never be the same because it won't be us there when we were there, like all together.
I would say to somebody thinking of studying abroad to do it, absolutely. It's the best experience that you could ever have in college and probably in your life, maybe. But maybe, who knows? Life is long.
I would definitely recommend that everybody studies abroad if they have the opportunity. It's well worth it, worth the money, worth the time, because you're not really going to have another point in your life where you can just pick up and go somewhere for 6 months.
What I want people to realize is like, yeah, that's part of it where you're like, you don't understand, like the world is different. But it's more than that. It's the realization that the world is more similar, not that the world is more different.
La cultura soy yo, cómo voy evolucionando y cambiando con lo que estoy viviendo. Entonces, si le puedes recomendar esto a cualquiera, ¿vale? Conocer cultura no es solo porque vengo a verlo en vivo y en directo. No, la cultura es empaparme de lo que está ocurriendo a mi alrededor. Y estoy tan mojada que algo de eso acaba calando dentro de mí. Y nunca volverás a ser la misma como eras, ¿eh? No. Cualquier vivencia, pero vivencia fuera, ahora, como extranjera en España, que te ha calado, nunca te va a dejar ser la misma persona. Y me alegro de ello, además, ¿eh?